Welcome to a Monday's Musings, my very first episode of my video podcast. As they say, every journey involves a first step. In my case, it was a pretty big first step, as what my vision is for Monday's Musings and what my skill set was were quite different, but learned a lot and look forward to sharing. In this episode, I will first discuss a little bit what this Monday's Musing is about, and then move on to the actual Monday's Muse. Why aiming for perfection won't help you achieve your goals. Enjoy. So what you think of those bumpers for Michael Maury Media and Monday's Musings? Too long, too short, boring, interesting? Let me know in the comments if you don't mind. So why did I call this Monday's Musings? Well, in part because Michael Maury Media has 3 M's, Monday's Musings has 2 M's, Michael Maury Media, Monday's Musings has 5 M's. I thought that was funny. Maybe not. Anyway, but more importantly, I chose Musings intentionally because when I'm out there in nature taking photographs, it is reflective and meditative, and you get in that zone, if you will. And if I'm going to be talking about it, I like to consider them as muses. So what are we going to be covering in this Monday Musings podcast? Well, these muses will be sometimes philosophical in nature. Sometimes they'll be about gear, even though I'm not much of a gearhead. Sometimes we'll just take a photo and that I've had some success with, breaking down the composition, the coloring, the other tips and tricks of trade. And then sometimes we'll just talk about the story behind the scenes, because that's of interest and fun as well. And lastly, maybe a section for question and answering as well. So I'm going to close out this segment with a little funny story. When I was recording this, I noticed I misspelled aiming for perfection. I thought that was pretty ironic. Okay, on to the actual muse for today. Now on to the Monday Muse. Today's muse, aiming for perfection, was inspired by listening to this audiobook by James Clear called Atomic Habits. And within this book, he tells a story and why trying to be perfect won't help you achieve your goals and what will. And this story, and I'll kind of paraphrase and read this as I go along, but a professor in Florida divided a film photography students into 2 groups. Everyone on the left side of this classroom would be in the quantity group. They would be graded solely on the amount of work they produce. They would tally the number of photos submitted by each student. If they took hundreds of photos, they would get an A, 90 photos a B, 80 photos a C, and so on. Just FYI, I think this is back in darkroom ages, because I take hundreds of photos a day. But moving on, while the right side of the group is the quality group, and they would be graded by how good their work is. They needed to produce only 1 photo, but in order to get an A, it had to be a nearly perfect image. At the end of the term, he was surprised to find that all the best photos were produced by the quantity group. During the semester, these students were busy taking photos, experimenting with composition and lighting, and testing out various methods in the darkroom and learning from the mistakes. In the process of creating hundreds of photos, they honed their skills. Meanwhile, the quality group sat around speculating about perfection. In the end, they had little to show for their efforts other than unverified theories and 1 mediocre photo. Wow. This really resonated with me when I listened to it and did a little bit more research on it. And I totally agree. One of the best things that came out of my photo of the day that I started in 2020 with those 365 through 6 days, and then I think I'm 118 photos of the days into 2021. But it forces me to get out there every day. I remember I used to be really stressed about what is it, finding that photo of the day, and and all of a sudden it occurred to me is I don't need to be stressed. It just happens. It is what it is. Just go out there and have fun. And worrying about the perfect photo will just happen. And so I think this is an important lesson to learn, that taking digital photos, you can take hundreds of photos and it doesn't cost you anything. And so go out and experiment and hone your skills and have fun with it and take it from different angles, and if your space is concerned, then just delete them. But take this approach with anything. There's a reason why it's called muscle memory. It's because repetition is very important. So that's my muse for today and for this Monday. And hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your comments. And thanks for sticking with me for the very first podcast. And hope to see you back shortly next Monday. Cheers.